Alrighty, hello everybody. Thanks everybody for being here. Again, welcome. My name is John Morton. I'm going to be doing creative the week 3 go-to training on motivation and gamification. Hope everybody's been having a pretty good week so far. If you were affected by the hurricanes, I hope you're all right and safe. If you weren't, well, that's good too. I still hope that you're safe. We're all back on track here for the most part in Florida. So yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. I have a beard, so yeah. Well, thank you. So at this point, we're already in week 3 of psychology of play. We've kind of considered, how play affects us individually. We've talked about play histories, play personalities, how play affects the brain, flow, how that works with our creativity, and so on. So we're ready to take a look at kind of what happens when we use these same strategies on a larger scale. Um, so, like I was saying, today we're going to be talking about motivation and gamification. Some of our talking points for the day: motivation, what motivates and drives each of us; self-determination theory; gamification, fun theory; and mixing work and play, and how that can go. Gamification, yeah. I will get into it like definition wise when we get there. But yes, gamification. It's a little bit. It depends. We'll get to it when we get there. But yeah, it's a pretty interesting topic. I like talking about gamification a lot. So we're gonna start talking about some of the stuff that's in the reading. Dan Pink's A Whole New Mind. With this week, we're introduced to Dan Pink. He's an author who's written about business, work, management, how all that works, and how it works with us mentally. We move on to the point of we're living in the conceptual age. Dan Pink in his books kind of goes in. He explains that we're not in the information age anymore. Today's society has shifted to conceptual age, and what that means exactly is we're reaping the benefits of information that's all around us. We're experiencing this right now. Having a go-to training. Being able to communicate. In mass through. Through the internet. I remember being a kid, and the idea of a teleconference was like this crazy idea. I remember thinking, wouldn't it be great if you could just see the person on the other side of the phone, and it just wasn't just a phone. And we take that for granted now. We have that, we have FaceTime, we have Skype, which is, a similar thing. There's all sorts of, ways to go about doing these things where we've really kind of taken it for advantage. Information's at our fingertips. All we need to do is jump on Google, and there it is. It's funny. I talk about this when I was a kid, and for everyone, for a point of reference, I'm only 30, so it was a long time ago, but not that long ago that I was a kid. And I would ask my mom questions and say, "Hey, mom, and I'd ask her some trivial questions. She'd say, I don't know, but where we can find out is at the library." And that was her refrain. I was always curious as a kid, and I had a lot of questions. And she'd always say, we can check the library. But now, right, we have Google. We have the internet. It puts it all right there at our fingertips, day in, day out. And what the flip side to having all that is that we've seen the information age replace a lot of jobs. Librarians, for one, there's a lot less need for them. Basically, jobs that require left brain thinking, so logical tasks, sequential work, things like that. In a way, they've been outsourced by machines, technology, things like that. You think about even just taxes. Historically, you had to get your taxes done. You had to go visit the tax man or an accountant or something, and they would do it. assuming your taxes were a little bit more complicated, maybe you couldn't figure it out. But now it's, you just jump online, TurboTax or whatever, kind of tax system. I just use that because that's the first one that comes to mind. But you can go online and file your taxes, and it's really easy. So it's just kind of the options are there, and a lot of those jobs kind of have disappeared. What that brings us to is what people are looking for now. What are the skills of utmost importance? An attractive candidate in a large workforce has changed over the years. Maybe before they wanted some hard skills. Now, what's the most important are the characteristics, usually right brain characteristics, imagination, creativity, artistry, inventiveness, big picture thinking, empathy. Those are some of the ideas that's what people are looking for. And what I use the term soft skills because it's not like a hard skill is more something, it's accounting. You can do accounting or you can't. It's one of those things it's like I know how to do this type of math. And it's great if you can. It's fantastic. It's important. Hard skills are important. If you're going to a coding program, you should know how to code. That's really important. That's a hard skill. But you have your soft skills. Big picture thinking, empathy. Those ones are. They're a little bit harder to quantify. I say that and I can kind of give you a broad general understanding of it, but again, it means different things to different people. How you'd use that in a job field can be different. So, for your industries, you're already utilizing these skills. You've developed mastery in these skills, which gives you an advantage in today's marketplace. These are the things, the creativity. That's kind of what will set you apart. If you all graduate and you all have similar education, they're going to say, okay, well, you all have the same piece of paper that says you know how to do X, Y, and Z hard skills. What are your soft skills? What sets you apart from the competition? And right, like I mentioned, these are the things that employers are going to be looking for. So what moves us to action at work? What actually motivates employees? We can take a look at, what causes us to perform and achieve highly at work. And I think a lot of times people are surprised. Sometimes people are just not as predictable as we think they're going to be, or we think we might know what's going to motivate someone, but not always the case. Excuse me. Historically there's this formula, and the formula looks kind of like this. It's big bonuses plus rewards plus incentives equal employee accomplishment. So what do you think? You can say yes or no. You agree with this or you don't agree with this. Any ideas? No. Raymond says he doesn't agree with this. No. You never had a job, so you can't relate. Well, are you motivated by money? Trace says no. Oh, Darlene, Javarian. Yes, some people yeah, some people no. Okay, so it's a mix. There's definitely a mix, and yes and no. There are some caveats to that. The real big thing, and when you get through the reading, you'll realize that people say that's wrong. That just money is not enough to motivate people. What that means is there's some misconceptions about the reasons why people work and what motivates them. When it comes to an employee's performance and accomplishments, the common assumption is that money is the biggest driver for performance. What we realize is there are some secrets to motivation. if you look into some of the Dan Pink stuff, you'll realize that there are a few other things that he pinpoints specifically that kind of unlock high performance in people and drive them to do things for their own sake. And you're all probably saying, oh, what are those 3 things? We really want to know. Autonomy, mastery, and purpose. Those are the 3 things that we're looking for. Autonomy is wanting to be self-directed, not micromanaged. Mastery, I think everyone has a general idea. Skills specifically in your field. Purpose can be different for each person, but we can make it personal and drive it home. Did anyone here start their degree program in whatever it is that you want to be in and say, I'm just going to lay low, I'm not going to try that hard, I just want to fly below the radar? No. Okay. Sure. I didn't think anyone would. People want a purpose. They want a reason, something that's making them come to work day in and day out. Companies that are flourishing right now are those who have people who have a purpose. I'm sorry, I'm trying to keep up with the chat box, and I apologize if it flies by me and I try to go back and forth a few times. So my apologies. I'll the chat box is always vicious. Yeah, it absolutely is. So did those 3 things come to mind when you were picking a school or a career? Autonomy, mastery, and purpose. Did anyone say, I want to be self-directed? Okay. Agreement on autonomy. Mastery, I hope everyone came because they want to master their field. You said you want to make games. Mastery did. Purpose and autonomy. Okay, yeah, so some agreement there. You just want to learn. You want to master music. All 3. You're happy with online scheduling? Sure, that's cool too. Purpose, also, kind of what drives people, what makes you get out of bed every morning, knowing what motivates you, which is our next point. What motivates you? And feel free to jump in. What motivates each of you? And I'll try and keep up with the reading. Discovery, comic books, family. Black Veil Brides, I don't know what that is. Movies, gaming, stopping people from dying, inventions, family, movies, books, TV, your wife and child. Okay, so it sounds like everyone has a pretty good idea of what motivates you. Thanks for sharing. I think it's important to. Oh, it's a band. Thank you, Rebecca. I appreciate that. It's important to know what motivates you and what's going to keep you driving every day. It's important if you don't know what's driving you. Oftentimes we get into a position where we just are become stagnant. I know that I have my family. I have 2 boys. They keep me really busy. They also give me a reason to get up. They're usually the reason I get up every day because they're loud and they want food. But right, so feed me. Yeah, that's exactly what they say. So taking a closer look at what motivates people, I want everyone to think about the candle problem. Has everyone read, seen, is familiar with the candle problem? No, yes, it's in the readings. So that's the secret. If you haven't done the readings, check them out. What it comes down to is this experiment done by a psychologist, Carl Dunker. Participants were were tasked with fixing a lit candle on a wall in a way so that the candle would not drip wax onto the table below, using only a box of matches, a box of thumbtacks, or a lighter, in this case, or matches, maybe historically. Is it possible, Keisha? That's the question. For this experiment, there were two groups. One was called the low drive group, and they were told that the study was testing problem solving to see which would be best for a later experiment. They were offered no prize for their work. That's why they were called the low drive group. Then there was a second group called the high drive group. They were told that depending on how quickly they solve the problem, they can win money, and only the top 25%, so the 25% fastest would get prizes. Only that group. So they implemented the idea of scarcity. There's a resource, there's money, it's on the table, you can win it, but only so many people. So they put scarcity in there. So limited resources is kind of floating around in the back of their mind. Christopher, you are smart. Money adds stress. So which group do you think solved the problem faster? That's the question. When rewards were offered, it took 3 minutes longer to solve the problem on average. It's crazy. You wouldn't think that. You'd think that money would drive people, the idea, not all about the Benjamins. And it's twofold. Money does motivate people in certain situations. But in certain situations like this one, it adds a level of stress. What was found was that the process of turning the task into a competition for limited resources created a mild level of stress in the subjects. And when people were under that level of stress, you get the fight or flight response that kicks in and starts taking over the brain and basically hijacks a part of your brain that it pulls your body's resources from the part of your brain that does problem solving. So those part of your brains in the prefrontal cortex shut down because your body is under stress. This experiment shows that rewards can narrow our focus and restrict our possibilities. Casey Kasem, I appreciate that. So it's not all about the money. This is really kind of the takeaway from that. In these situations, when stress is involved, when finite resources are involved, stress, money can it won't demotivate you, but it can prevent you from achieving at a high level when it comes to creative tasks, which is what kind of we come to on the very next slide. Basically, what people found is that if a task is mechanical, working on an assembly line, assembling widgets, putting things together, digging a hole, not all manual labor, some manual labor, that's mechanical. That's just task oriented. That's just doing the same task over and over and over again. In those situations where mechanical tasks are what you're being asked to do, money will motivate you. It's just basically like work faster for more money. So in those situations, it works. However, when tasks are higher functioning, such as thinking creatively, incentives and rewards become counterproductive. So that's essentially what that all comes down to. Money does not make you happy, right? Sean asked the question. mean, money is paper. I think people want it has the potential to incentivize people up to a certain point. The broader the task, the more you need to do away with the rewards, right? If the task requires creative thinking, so if it's a creative task, money relieves stress from owing. Yeah, totally. If you need money, having it makes that stress go away. This class is several people's classes all together to answer that question. Yes, exactly. Oh goodness, Keisha. Money only helps makes us happy, with some quotes around that, up to a certain point. Once we have what we need, it doesn't really drive people very much. That's what people have found, which is on our very next slide. When people are, and this is the key, when businesses pay people enough to take the issue of money off the table, that's when a business really starts fostering an environment of unlimited return. We instinctively know this. When we're paid well, it communicates that we're valued, people care about us, we feel good, we know that we're valued by our company, we want to give them the best because they obviously care about us. That's what drives people. So again, self-determination theory. Think about it. You're working with a company. They value you. They're paying you, a decent wage so that your financial concerns are met. The things that you're worried about are taken care of. Self-determination theory explains human behavior from a completely different angle than traditional behavioral theories. It says we're wired towards personal growth, that we're motivated intrinsically, or in other words, from within. So our motivation comes from within us. Self-determination basically forms who we are as people. I'm sure some of you have had experiences with that. You have something inside you that drives you to become who you want to be. It begins with what are described as universal human needs: competency, autonomy, and relatedness. These may sound they may sound very familiar. They're similar to autonomy, mastery, and purpose. Competence and mastery, I think, are pretty similar. Autonomy, same thing. And relatedness versus purpose is kind of the different thing. But when these needs are satisfied, we're motivated, productive, and more happy. Google Google does a pretty good job showing how businesses can employ people and can benefit from using the principles of self-determination theory, which we'll get into a little bit later on in the slide. Gamification, back to that topic, which we were asked about at the very beginning. So gamification is the idea of implementing game mechanics into a non-game task. Gamification strategically implements fun. It creates an environment of engagement, motivation. Gamification techniques really strive to leverage people's natural desire for achievement and self-expression. We have an article that goes into it, but you can think about it in terms of where you might see gamification. Can any of you think of things where maybe you've seen gamification used in the world? You read a book called Level Up, Your Life. That's all about gamification. Okay, McDonald's Monopoly, Maxwell. Yes, thank you. That's one of my ones that I always use. McDonald's Monopoly is a huge one. I think it's pretty impressive the way they do it. Fitbit is the same way. Absolutely. basically marketers have figured out that if we can sing while doing dishes, yeah, absolutely. If we can if we can get someone to think that they are engaged in a game and not just consuming something, we can get them to buy, consume at a higher level. Kids doing chores, yeah, they get stickers, they level up. Yeah, you use it without even knowing they're using it. I joke with people at work, puns, impressions. Yeah, absolutely. There's all sorts of. I feel like every job that I've had, when I was younger, I worked in a warehouse, and there was always something to do. We were always playing a game, horsing around, something to make it a little bit more fun. Because, right, if it's, especially if it's a mechanical job and there's not a lot going on, you want to make it a little bit more fun because it's can be very boring and dull. The one thing that I see that I think a company that's done really well with gamification is Waze. I don't know if anyone has ever used Waze. It's an app. It's a map feature, a map app. Um, yeah, okay. So you've used it. Some people have. Basically, Waze uses gamification in Wayze, I think is how it's spelled. It's wait, okay, Waze. Treon, thank you very much for that. It's a map application like Google Maps or something like that, but right, like Lester says, uh, way better than Google Maps. So it tells you, as Austin says, where police are. It shows you where accidents are. It shows you where all this stuff is, and you interact with it. So each person gets to interact with the app, and you get badges and points for doing different things. You can say somebody reports an accident. You can confirm that accident is still slowing down traffic. You can. If the accident is cleared off the road and traffic's moving again, you can say, "Oh, this is all cleared up. We're good to go now." And they've made it fun, and they get people to participate, and they're getting a lot more done in app than you can get through the other inputs, because other apps, Google Maps doesn't have inputs. The other apps don't give you the opportunity to put information in. So I have no incentive to tell you to use Waze, but it's cool. They do pretty fun stuff. So I think it's pretty interesting, the work that they're doing. I think it's worth checking out if you've never seen it before. But do what you want. It's pretty cool though. So the piano staircase. We have a video for this. It's in the materials section. If you will, just click on the materials section. So it'll drop down, click on the piano staircase. I'm going to watch it real quick, and I will come back just as soon as we're done. Okay, so I think everyone should have gotten through that video, or you're coming up very close to it. It looks like everyone kind of seems to be consensus on that. It's pretty fun. That is a good percentage of getting people to change, is making something fun. Has anyone ever tried to make a change in their own life, but just realized that they didn't like it? It wasn't fun. It wasn't something they wanted to do. Versus having made a change, but finding fun new ways to implement that. Eating healthy. Yeah, absolutely. Your first degree. Definitely. Making stuff fun is pretty effective way to get people to change. That's a little bit of a glimpse into gamification in the real world. I think it's one of the more fun videos that's out there that shows how you can get people to change, take a slightly different pathway. Moving on from that, we're going to look. The last leg of our lecture, we're going to talk about some of the leaders of the play movement who've really done a pretty impressive job mixing work and play. We all see gamification integrated into work culture of companies, the people who are beating out the competition. If you think about companies like Zappos, Google, Pixar, they're doing a pretty good job. These companies are creating the proper conditions for people so that they'll motivate themselves. And that's really the key. Basically, getting people to work smarter and not harder. The companies are leaders in their industries, and they really push their boundaries of where play ends and where work begins. We have one more video, the Inside Google. If you go back into the materials section and you can go to Inside Google, we'll watch that and then we'll come back for thoughts. Okay, so hopefully everyone saw that, is coming back from it. If you're still watching it, that's okay. I'm curious to know what everyone's thoughts are. Interesting. Okay. What's appealing about somewhere like Google versus other places? What are the things that you see there that you would want? It's fun looking, unlimited snacks. It's fun. You don't know if you can fathom that. Free food. You are not able to pull it up. Okay, you can probably find, if you type inside Google, you can get a pretty good idea of what they're talking about. You heard they can take 3 months off creative leave. I don't know about that, but that sounds interesting. Power naps. They seem to care about their employees, and they recognize that's why they succeed, understanding the power of play. They make it alluring to stay there and work, giving the employees great breaks. Yeah, focusing on the break. Bowling alleys. Great motivation boosters. 3 meals a day for free. Yeah, there's really a lot of stuff that they seem to be doing that seems to be paying off. Every time I watch that video, I'm reminded, I don't know if everyone lives in different places, but uh, real estate property in Mountain View, California is at a premium. It's insanely expensive to live there. It costs a lot just for land. And they've got soccer fields, which is crazy. But what it says is that you'd probably work less hours, but probably be motivated to work harder. Yeah, absolutely. What it says to me is that they realize how important it is that people have the space, that they can play, that they can garden, that they can do the things that have them feel fulfilled inside and outside of work, because that's what's going to have them continue to work harder, work more, get more done. They make sure their workers are taken care of. Yeah. So there's definitely a lot of fun things that they do. I think that most people would want to stay at work if they worked there. Absolutely. So mixing work and play, creating an environment of creativity and imagination leads to higher efficiency, performance, and happiness. Although it's counterintuitive to traditional thinking of human motivation and human behavior, it's kind of the ideal mix. Those companies that are mixing work and play have, or tend to have, more innovative leaders. They're not the cookie cutter type jobs. I think that's one of the main differences. A lot of people in my generation versus what our parents thought about. Keisha, yeah, exactly. All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. Exactly. I couldn't agree more. These companies that are coming out doing the new things, they have a fun atmosphere, and they know what their why statement is. They know why they're out there doing what it is that they're doing. They know who they're reaching out to, and they have a target for their goal. So that's what makes these companies really stand out and shine and get a lot of work done. And does anyone have any other companies that they can think of that are doing interesting stuff like that, or that they've heard of? I'm just curious. This is, Amazon. Okay, does similar stuff. Interesting. Sweetwater Sound. I've not heard of them, but I'll check that. Yahoo. Yeah, I know Yahoo is making a lot of kind of strides right now. Excuse me. No idea. Only knew of Google. The Army lets you do push-ups for fun. That's good to know, James. That's funny. Gravity Payment Processing, Bryant Games. Okay, so people are doing a number of things. They're paying people better. They're giving people more opportunities to do things that are fun. I think you'll find that companies kind of have a flux in between, maybe sometimes what they're paying people, what they're kind of the freedom that they give people. All those things are kind of there's a balance that each company has. So the next question is, how can you shine? This week, you'll learn a lot about the value of play on a larger level, but everything can be applied to you as an individual as well. So determining what motivates you from the inside out. It's going to help you along the journey, and it's what's going to make you shine. So I'd encourage everyone to take some time and think about that. Think about what it is that motivates you professionally, personally, at home, at work, and know what it is that's going to keep you moving. Because at the end of the day, you can have responsibilities, you can have all these things, you can have all the people putting their hand out, the bill collector, whoever it is. But if you can be motivated from within, you're going to be more fulfilled in the long run. So that for us is motivation, self-determination theory, gamification, fun theory, and how to mix work and play. There's some references. The future motivates you. Okay, I believe that. Yeah, just think about what's to come. Future design of gaming. Okay, yeah, absolutely. Fun humor is a big motivator. Absolutely. Does anyone have any questions about this or about stuff this week? Computer animation. Nope. If anyone has questions, I'm going to stick around and hang out. If you don't have questions, that's the end of the presentation. I'm not going to give any more amazing things to say. The next session will be starting up shortly, yes. She did not have her baby, no. It is not me, it's someone else, actually. I could tell you what the next section is about. I don't remember off the top of my head. Give me a minute. That's the top 40, but thank you, Dale. I appreciate that. So the next presentation is on collaboration. I will have a go on Lester, you too. Kyle, I'm glad. I aim to be straightforward to the best of my ability. Good day to you. Thank you. Thank you all for being here. I teach psychology of play. No, I teach this. You know what? I think so. So each week, a different person does the go-to training. There's only a handful of men on our team. So I'm not sure who is teaching week one. I think you may have had actually different people each week. Yeah, no, yeah. There's a lot of us who teach, but right, there's only a handful of men on the team, so I am one of them. Weeks 1 and 2 actually had different people teaching, but they were both women. So, not that all women sound the same, but if you only heard your female teachers, Full Sail is not mostly female teachers, but the social sciences department where I work is probably about 2/3 women versus men. No, I love my team. They're fantastic. We all have a great time. But most of the teachers overall, generally at Full Sail, are men. There are a lot of male teachers, so it's a fun mix. Yeah, I don't know. I think each program has its own mix of men and women. I think some of the industries may have been historically male-driven industries. Definitely in education overall, I think a lot more women teach than men. I think what's interesting here, I think a lot of our programs have historically been male-dominated industries. So I don't know that that's an excuse or why, but a lot of them, yeah, I think that like historically the recording industry has employed more men than women. Yeah, out of context, yeah, it might not sound good, um, but I think that even a lot of times STEM, so science, things like that. Yeah, I'm not saying. I think now there's a lot better representation, but historically, I think a lot of the programs that we've offered over the years have been ones where there tended to be more men in the industry than women. Yes, Keisha was asking me the question about whether or not there's more men or women teachers here, and I said there's generally speaking more men who teach, but in this department specifically, there are more women. Yes. You're all free to go though. You don't have to hang out. I can end the session. I don't have anything else particularly relevant